Hey, welcome back. Business 163, Personal Finance. We are looking in this seventh module. We are looking in this seventh video in our module on budgeting at some additional tools and methods that I thought were worth mentioning all together in one of our last lectures. So, as you can see from the slide, we're looking at additional budget methods and tools, and let's climb right in. We've introduced you to several different budget methods which are quite popular out there, and there are at least a couple more that we'd probably want to mention. So not spending an enormous amount of time, and I haven't given you too many resources on this, but there is something called the 60-40 method. The 60-40 method, as you can see, you basically just have two buckets. You have essential and everything else. And so you account for 60% of your income for essential and fixed expenses, and then 40% is everything else. And of course, well, you might see here, well, they're playing a little bit with the percentages versus the other methods. It's simple. It's not very granular. There are noted advantages to that as well as some disadvantages. But that is another way to look at the budgeting methodology, the budget process. There is also what we would call the value-based budget. What's the value-based budget? The value-based budget asks, well, if these are my deeply held values and convictions, is my spending really resonant with what I say my values are? So, how do you do this? Well, you do an introspective deep dive into your values and your life priorities, and you write down, what's really the most important thing to you, all right? Now, from there, you hold those in one hand, and in the other hand, you look at your past spending, maybe for the past 3 months or so, and is your spending in line with what you'd like to be spending your money on? Or is there dissonance? For instance, what happens if you said, one of my key values is I want to prioritize international travel, but all your discretionary money is spent on clothes and restaurants? Well, that's dissonant. That's something you've identified where your spending doesn't match up with your values. You need to consider, how are you going to make those things align? What changes will you make so that those things align? Hope that makes sense, right? There's just a couple of ideas there. Again, I'm not spending a lot of time or giving you a bunch of resources, but there are some things to consider in these methods. And finally, there's an awful lot of tools out there, no matter which of these methods you feel is working for you. You can see people for a long time have used physical envelopes, or nowadays Excel spreadsheets, right? Or in a Google Sheet, or for Apple computers, another app like Numbers, some sort of spreadsheet application. And now, of course, with the advent of financial technology or fintech apps, there's all sorts of different fintech apps out there to help you with your budgeting. And we've got listed here on the slide several: Pocket Guard, Mint, You Need a Budget, or YNAB, Every Dollar, Good Budget. You see them all. And I've given you a resource page in the module with some links to reviews of these kinds of apps. We do not recommend or endorse any of these for your usage. I'm not saying one is better than the other. These are just here for your consideration. And quite frankly, every month there's a new fintech app out there that may be worthy of making this list. This is just as of the time that I prepared this slide. What are some of the apps out there that are popular? And so you want to do your homework and you do your due diligence before you land on any of these. But just realize there are technologies out there to help you with every single one of these processes, all right? So I hope that's helpful. Just a quick little video with some additional methods and some tools that you may find helpful as you begin to really think about, what are my financial goals? What have I kind of been doing with my financial life? And as I try to really revise my personal budget, which of these tools might really match up with a method that seems to resonate with who I am and where I want to be? All right? Hope that's helpful. Just one last video in this module. All righty? So we'll see you in the 8th and last video in this module.